What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna be back to work on our 1966 Ford Mustang GT that we picked up from the salvage auction. But before we get started on this car, I'm super excited. We've partnered up with Omaze to give you guys the chance to win a 1967 Ford Mustang Eleanor, and it's officially licensed by Eleanor, and $20,000 cash. All shipping and taxes are included, and the best thing about this is every donation goes to a great cause. And if you guys don't know what the Ford Mustang Eleanor is, it's a super popular car from the movie Gone in 60 Seconds. Now let's get to the specs of this car. The car has over 600 horsepower from a supercharged 5.0 engine, has iconic styling, hand-built interior by the guys over at Fusion Motor Company. They did an absolutely stunning job on the car. It's definitely an inspiration to my build right here, and it's definitely a dream car of mine. And if you want a chance to enter to win this officially licensed 1967 Ford Mustang Eleanor, head over to omaze.com/vtuned. Now, let's get back to work on the Mustang. So we're gonna start off by working on the front end of this car. We kind of messed up over here, and as you can see, here is where the bumper goes, and all of this is a bit too low, and I guess I just didn't take into account because of the wheel size. So we are gonna have to get a little bit smaller wheels. Those are 20s, and it has some thick rubber on there, so we kind of messed up with the height. But I do have a pretty good solution for all of this. What we need to do is actually lower the engine down couple inches. We're gonna have to actually cut this cross member right here and remove those engine mounts, and probably build some custom engine mounts to lower the whole engine down, just so we don't have to redo any of the subframe. And then we'll also have to redo some of this stuff right here, but that's just the process of it, because we are building everything from scratch. So it's kind of like, I should have probably sat down and thought it through, but it's all good. So let's go ahead and take some of this stuff back apart, and then we'll probably even start taking the engine mounts off. So we got the entire front end taken apart, and now what we need to do is actually lift this motor out, and then we have to take this subframe cradle back out so we can make those cuts and give it that clearance to lower that motor down a little bit. So we got the subframe out from underneath the car and it was kind of sketchy. It kind of fell a little bit, but we actually got it out. And now what we're gonna have to do is be working on this part right here, because the way we're gonna drop the motor down, this is actually in the way of the oil pan. So once we cut this out, we'll probably just weld something in here, maybe make like some kind of cool bracket for there. So let's go ahead and get this thing on the metal stand and we'll start cutting it up. So we got the subframe on the stand right here. Now what we have to do is figure out exactly how we're gonna cut this piece right here and somehow weld it up. I'm thinking we'll just give it a cut right here and maybe do a bend and do something like that. Not too sure, but let's just go ahead and cut this piece. So we have this piece right here cut out, and what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is probably grab another tube just like this and throw it on the bender and basically do something just like that so we can reinforce it all back together, and then we'll put some nice gussets, and I think that should be strong enough to hold up this motor, and it'll allow that motor to drop down a couple inches, around 3 inches, so that'll give us enough clearance under the engine bay. So let's go ahead and grab another tube, slap it on the bender, and give it a nice bend. So we got this tube nice and bent, and we also lined it up under the engine, and it lines up pretty good. We're gonna have really good clearances. Now, what I'm thinking about doing is probably gonna cut these two tubes off right here, and then we'll notch this tube and then slide it in just like that and give it a nice weld all the way around, and then probably cap that off and weld everything up nice and tight. And then we'll also throw in some gussets over here and then over here, make everything nice and strong, and it should support the engine pretty good. So let's go ahead and do some more cutting. So we got all these pieces finally grinded off, and it took forever, but we got it done. Now what we need to do is start prepping this piece, because this is gonna slide in just like that. And what I'm planning on doing is actually notching this tube right here, and then we can just slide it in there and then weld everything up. So let's go ahead and do some measuring and cut this piece. So we have both sides measured out really nice, and now what we need to do is actually notch the tube just like this, and then it will be able to slide up into here, and we can weld it all up perfectly. So we were just about to tube notch this tube with this Harbor Freight tube notcher, and it kind of broke. It just, I guess it walled it out right here. So we're actually gonna head to Harbor Freight and get a new one. So we just made it to Harbor Freight, and here is a tubing notcher. It's actually called a pipe tubing notcher. And hopefully this one will last a little bit. The other one lasted a good couple of months, so we're just gonna go ahead and get this. And we're also gonna get one of these right here. Check this bad boy out. Might help us out a little bit, but let's go back to the shop. Pretty good. So we just unboxed it. We have the new one right here, and this one's a little bit used. As you can see, there's a lot of oil on there. It's a little greasy. And then you can see the shaft on this one is a lot smoother, and this one's a lot wallered out. I guess it's a bad one. So we probably will have to get like a nice professional one, but this is what we're gonna work with for now, so we can get this subframe built and back on the car. So let's go ahead and set this thing back up on this drill press. So we got this thing all nice and set up, and hopefully it works pretty good. So let's go ahead and grab the tube and try to do our first cut. So we got this tube notched on both sides, and we also kind of tapped it in right here because we're gonna slide it just like that against there and then give it a nice weld right there. So now what we need to do is actually clean up all the surfaces with the grinder, and then we'll bring the welder over here and get this thing welded on. So it's the next day here at the shop. We did get everything welded up yesterday, and we were trying to TIG weld it, but I'm not the best TIG welder out there. I'm still learning, but it turned out decent. Then we just went over it with the MIG welder, put a nice solid bead down there. We still have to weld some stuff up underneath, but for now I want to get this engine cradle back underneath the car, see how the motor sits down on it, and just make sure everything is lining up. So let's go ahead and do that. So we got the engine back on the frame, and we have the subframe under there too, and it actually lowered it down pretty good. It did around 3 inches. We'll have to build a custom engine mount now, but that's all right. And we still have all our good clearances with like our oil filter and our crank pulley right there. So that is looking pretty good there. And then what we will have to do is actually get some new rims and tires, because the ones off the 2015 Mustang, they're just a bit too big. These are some 20s, and then it has some really thick rubber on there. I'm not even sure what size that at. It's a 255/40, so it's a really high profile tire, and that's what was kind of messing up everything with like the body and everything, because that's the main thing is the suspension. So we'll definitely need to do is get some new rims and tires. So if you guys have any cool suggestions for some rims, just go ahead and drop them down below. And also don't forget to visit omaze.com/vtune to enter for your chance to win a 1967 Ford Mustang GT Eleanor officially licensed. And we still have some of these shirts in stock, so if you want to get you one and support your boy, head over to vtune.com. And also don't forget to follow me on Instagram at vtune. Thanks for watching.